She smiles. She makes eye contact. She laughs with her friends. But the moment she walks through the door, she collapses emotionally, physically, mentally. This is the hidden cost of masking. And this is one of the most misunderstood signs of autism in girls. Hi, I'm Dr. James Thatcher. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist based out of Portland, Oregon. And if you've seen part 1 and 2 of this series, you know how these girls are often missed or even misdiagnosed. And today, I want to go even deeper on what it feels like for girls on the spectrum to mask and how this affects their mental health, their identity, and their long-term well-being. So what is masking? Masking is when individuals on the autism spectrum hide their natural responses in order to fit in with others. And this can look like forced eye contact, practicing conversations over and over again so they know that they can say the right things at the right moment in time, or at least feel like they can. Mimicking the tone, gestures, or even the slang and inside jokes of their peers. Smiling or laughing, even when they feel uncomfortable because they're wanting to fit in. And avoid stimming or motor stereotypies when out in public. I worked with this patient one time who was interested in theater, and she used this really interesting analogy to where she said going to school felt like being up on stage with no script. And that's kind of how she played it, to where she would go to school, she had friends, she made eye contact, she did all the things in order to fit in. But then when she got home, she would go to her room, close the door, get under her blanket, and then just be there for an hour. And her parents just thought that maybe she needed a nap after the day. But in reality, she was burnt out from acting neurotypical all day long. So why are girls more likely to mask than guys? Girls are socialized from a young age to be polite and quiet and accommodating. So when they struggle socially, they try and compensate by copying or performing. And masking may help them avoid being bullied and help them fit in, but it comes at a cost. I want to share how I worked with one patient a long time ago to where she had a binder that was titled How to Act Normal. And in it, she would have what she would wear, what to say, where to sit at lunch, all these different things. And on top of that, she had written out little scripts on how to respond to other people. So if someone asked her a question, she had a couple of different responses that she could use. And then based off of what they would say from her response, she had 5 or 6 different responses to that. So you can see how after a while, and not even that long, a very short period of time, that this would become very confusing for her and overwhelming and just awful to remember all of those lines. And like I mentioned before, there's an emotional cost to masking. When girls mask for such a long period of time, it can lead to emotional overwhelm and burnout, chronic fatigue, panic attacks, especially when they're put into different social situations that they don't have that script for. They don't know how to interact. A loss of identity can be another one. Not knowing who they really are. If you got to put on a mask all day, every day, it's going to be hard to know who you truly are inside. And of course, with all of these things, you can imagine what's going on with their mental health, to where there is an increased risk for anxiety, depression, and eating disorders. I worked with a teen one time that said this line, and it still resonates with me, to where they said, "No one really knows me. They only know the girl that I show them." So what does masking look like at home? I've worked with parents to where they say once their daughter gets home, they just fall apart. They're screaming, they're crying, or they're withdrawing and going to their room. and not coming out for hours and hours because they have been so overwhelmed throughout the day. And I want to emphasize that this is not bad behavior. This is what happens when they spend 7, 8, 10 hours a day pretending to be someone that they're not. So why does understanding masking matter? If we only look at the externalizing behaviors, the hand flapping, lining things up, then we often miss the girls who tend to internalize all of their distress. And understanding masking helps us see the real person underneath the performance. It helps us avoid misdiagnoses of anxiety, depression, or borderline personality disorder. And of course, it can provide support, which helps mental health and avoid all these different issues that I talked about with anxiety and depression, or helps them cope with it. And on top of that, because they've been seen, because we can now see them for who they are, they're validated, and that can boost their confidence and their self-esteem. So I want to end with this. Masking is a survival strategy, but no child should have to survive their day by pretending to be someone who they're not. And when we recognize these signs early, we can help these girls grow into their authentic selves without any shame or confusion or collapse. So if you've seen yourself, your daughter, your student, your patient in this video, know that you're not alone and they're not alone. Reach out for help. Reach out to get a neuro-affirming evaluation. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe to this channel for more tips and advice on how to help your child, your teen, live their best life and not just cope with it. All right, hopefully I see you later. Bye.